made me realize that I don't have many hobbies outside of this. I've been bored as hell. I was on college basketball message boards for the past couple days, and I'm like, what am I even doing here? It's July. Thrilled to have baseball back, and I got to bring this point up, and then we'll bring you guys in and start talking about this. Robert S. makes a point that I thought about this morning, where I just couldn't believe this, and he's right. How can you have a 4-day break and return on Friday morning with 8 teams that don't have a starter listed? Or 8, like there's literally 4 or 5 games that aren't even listed at most books right now that don't have a lineup because they don't know who their starter is. And yeah, how is that possible? That's frustrating. I know I have holes in, my list here because certain teams haven't figured out a starter yet they've had a week to do it. Have you guys noticed that as well? Have they popped at your books, and any thoughts there?
Well, the thought is during the first half of the season, or once the second half gets going, they have the rotation and everybody likes to pitch on their certain day, 5 days off, 6 days off. So if you followed Strider yesterday, you know that the guy after him is so-and-so. So that's the way it is in the regular season. But when you get the break, let's say your 5th starter is due to pitch. You don't want to start the second half with your 5th starter. That means he's going to get one more start than he should get.
Sure.
So then you switch back and you go from your 1 to your 5. But even a lot of times, depending on who you match up with, just on that first series, I'll say, well, let's say you're playing a team that's really good against lefties. Well, you may not want to start your lefty against him. He may be your 3rd starter. You move him back to the 4th starter. So I see what it is. It's just frustrating where you don't know exactly who it is. The Yankees really, I don't know what they're gonna do because they've got Fried is injured or came back from an injury. He's got a blister, so he's probably going to start. But if the blister is bothering him, maybe he doesn't start today. Who knows?
I'm seeing the Angels, Royals, and Yankees the only teams that don't have their starters list. I see every other team with a starter.
I think they've started to pop up. I know like an hour ago to maybe 7:30 a.m. when I was really kind of making my first like real pass through it. I noticed quite a few without starters, but
I missed baseball and I missed doing a show. I missed baseball. I missed doing a show, but the 4 days gave me a chance to kind of put my stats in a nice format. So I put them downloadable free on my page on WagerTalk.com. So you guys can go do that and use it for your DFS or anything. That's how I filled my time. Brian, did you actually talk to your wife?
I actually downloaded that and it looks really nice. I had to talk to my wife because it was my 30th anniversary over the weekend. So
okay. That's a good excuse.
We went out and had a nice dinner and saw a show. So it was very nice.
Yeah, I mean it's nice to take a break and stuff, but I'd rather be doing this. Just straight up, rather be doing this. I'd rather figure out these games even if we have starters or not. I will say this, and as we go into the first game that we're going to cover, Markinson wants to cover Guardians A's. That's one we have starters for, and I think we're all going to kind of have opinions on that. So we're going to kick off with that one. But I will say, like, I approached the 3 days out of the break similar to I approached the 3 days into the break because you'd never really know who's going to come out ready to rock and who might be still sleeping a little bit. So I always find this weekend particularly very interesting, and I'm willing to. I kind of tread a little lightly, kind of the same way as I go into the break. I didn't even make a play on Sunday for that reason, and I'll be pretty tight here because of that. So Brian Leonard, let's go to you. A team that I would say started to play well going into the break. Your Cleveland Guardians, they're now at home as a favorite against the West Sacramento A's. You went to this series out in Sacramento. Now they're back in Cleveland. How are you approaching this one?
Yeah, it's I just want to touch on something about starting the second half. You mentioned the way the first half ended. That Sunday, and I said this going in, unfortunately, we didn't have a show that day, so I probably should have tweeted it out. But your last day like that is very similar to your last day at school. You just can't wait to get out of there. The umpires want to get home. The players want to get home. And 2/3 of the games went under. I think we're going to have something very similar today. So you have hitters who haven't hit in 4 or 5 days. They're creatures of habit or whatever. A lot of the pitchers who made the All-Star team starters did not take the time to go to the game. They wanted to rest up for today's start, and the other guys have already been rested from a starting standpoint, and all the bullpens are rested. So this, if you like to play in unders, this is a great way to do so. Unfortunately, this was probably going to be my best bet when I went to bed last night. These lines have been up for a day or so, so it was easy to tell who was going to play. But I wanted to play this game under. It was 8.5. I said, this is going to be my best bet on today's show. And here we go with the line moving. It's now down to 8 everywhere. Actually, it's leaning a little bit towards 8 under. Cleveland's about a 130 favorite in this game. So everybody saw the same thing as I did. Didn't get it out to clients soon enough, and that's my own fault there. But we've got JP Sears going, and he's one of the guys that should give Cleveland problems. He's a lefty. Comes in with a 4.79 ERA, not very good, but expected ERA is 4. His WHIP is 1.25, and you had mentioned when they played Cleveland last time, he went at home. He went 5 innings, gave up 3 earned runs. I was at that game, and he was pitching very well. Then he kind of fell apart, a couple of walks, a couple of questionable calls by the umps, and then he got shaken a little bit. So I think he'll come back and pitch a better game here. He's a fly ball pitcher. He's only in the 4% ground ball percentile. So that's not good. But for the most part, unless you hit it in right center field, the ball is just normal here in Cleveland for the weather for the home run power in that one. But we also have going for Cleveland is Slade Ciccone. He's been good since he's come back. He's got a 3.44 ERA, 4.76 expected, so maybe a little lucky. WHIP 1.27, but he can be hit. If you take a look at his average exit velocity, 4th percentile, chase percent 4th percentile, hard hit rate 4th, and barrel 7th. That's not what you're looking for. His numbers look pretty good this year, and I've actually watched him, and he's been good. He's usually a guy who doesn't walk batters. He's walking 7.8% right now, but he's a big strikeout to walk guy. He's up 16.3, which is better than league average. So I like the under in this one, but unfortunately, my clients aren't going to get it because I lost the 8.5.
So I was told I should only drink Fireball when I have something to celebrate. I just won 2 KBO bets, so I'm going to celebrate for a minute. And, oh, that's so good. Regarding this game, I have the A's kind of better at everything, but just a little bit better. I mean, their bullpen performing better, but you guys know me. I'm big on current form, and after a 4-day break, current form doesn't really mean as much. These guys are creatures of habit, and everything is they're very fluid. So after a 4-day break, kind of don't know what to expect. I do know that the A's have a little bit better hitting and a little bit better bullpen. I also know that Ciccone has really bad numbers at home for some reason. His ERA is quite bad. JP Sears does not have good numbers against these batters, but I don't want to take an over because some people are saying in the comments, hitters are still a little bit in vacation mode and pitchers are all rested. So generally I would look to unders today, but I don't know if I'm going to do an under in this game. The A's, they were crushing the ball right before the break. The Guardians weren't. A's bullpen is a little bit better. If anything, I'd go with A's, but I'm probably going to lay off it today.
That's how I feel too. I think there's some value here on A's money line plus 120. They're the type of team where just the makeup of the A's this year, a lot of young kids, a lot of kids in their first full big league season, some in their first big league season at all, guys like Nick Kurtz and, Jacob Wilson came up for a little bit last year, but I think I've talked about it a couple times at this point. They're the type of team they're going to be streaky. They're going to sort of it's going to snowball in one direction or the other. And I don't think that they like suffer from a few days off, because I don't know that half of that team even knows what their approach is yet, right? Like they haven't even figured out their routine. They're just young kids that are happy to be up playing Major League Baseball. And a lot of other organizations, they might not even be in the big leagues yet, if they were behind more seasoned players, more veteran players. So the A's are the type of team where they roll into this series. I kind of agree with you, Tokyo Brandon. I don't think there's that big of a difference between the A's and the Guardians. That's how out I am on the Guardians as a whole. Certainly the Guardians are going to win more games than the A's this year, but I'm talking about the caliber of team that's on the field is not that different. And so you're talking about coming into a spot where neither team has played for 4 days. The Guardians maybe sort of, they had some momentum before the break. Maybe they've lost it. But when you go back to the price, being that you're getting plus 120, I still have Sears rated a little bit higher than Ciccone. The one other thing I'll throw out to you guys, Slade Ciccone spent a lot of time at Reno, okay, the last couple of years in the Diamondbacks organization. So there's 10 teams in the PCL. All of these guys in the A's lineup have seen him a ton, because, they play every single time Vegas plays Reno. They'll see Ciccone at least once. So there's probably a huge sample size here for the A's hitters against Ciccone. That's probably not, it's not at the big league level, so you're not going to hear about it. But I bet these A's hitters top to bottom have seen him a ton. And he's not the type of guy that's really, if you've got a beat on him, you're going to be able to hit Slade Ciccone. So A's money line is the way I'll go here. And as I talk about it, I start to like it even more. But I'll go to Ethan's comment for a second. Yeah, this is a very challenging weekend. Last weekend coming into the break, this weekend coming out of the break. Ethan, I agree with you. It's as challenging of a week as you're going to find in the entire MLB schedule. So, but I do think there's some value there with the A's, and we'll move on. So Titan CT says, can we discuss Brewers? This was one that I don't think many places had a line for, but I think it's probably popping up right now. Brewers Dodgers. We got to get this one in on the show. Someone asked, who's the pitcher here? My guess is if it's either Quinn Priester or it's Quinn Priester as the bulk guy. I know last time around they put Hall in front of him, and Priester, it seems to work. So Brian Leonard, I'll go to you. Brewers Dodgers, they really like putting Priester in this bulk role, and he seems to be able to give them 5-6 good innings every time they set it up that way for him. So I thought there was a little value here on the Brewers, but do the Dodgers wake up to start the second half is the question. We'll go to you.
That's what we talked about. And to get back to the last question, I think the week going into the break is worse. That's the one, and for the most part, I think we all struggled that week. But this one I don't think is that difficult, as long as you know who's going to pitch. And to me, the best way to know is when all the teams are equal. We talked about the bullpens. All the teams in the bullpens, they might have pitched in the All-Star game, pitched one inning, whatever. But for the most part, all the bullpens are equal. So you know that's given information. And if you've been keeping up on the bullpens, you know who's good and who's not. And obviously Brandon does that with his numbers. In this one, the line is Glasnow basically about a 185, and line's 8.5. Glasnow came back and pitched one time since he's been back from being injured. Looked pretty decent in that game. So you got two pitchers here that Priester's really having a pretty much of a breakout year. 3.55 ERA, 3.73 expected, 1.25 on the whip. Very good ground ball rate, 95th percentile. That's a very good number to have when you're playing the Dodgers, who are very similar to the Yankees in many ways, where home runs mean so much to this team. The Yankees have always been one that, at least the last decade, is very important to them. They've been having trouble. That's why they go on such a slump sometimes and are very streaky. That's something to take a look at. And as for his opponent today, Glasnow, good pitcher when he's healthy. Great pitcher many times when he's healthy, but he's not always healthy. His career ERA is 3.80 after 10 seasons. Each of the last 3 years, his ERA is basically the same. 3.52, 3.49, 3.53. You know what you're going to get out of him. His whip this year is a little bit high at 1.22. Great extension. He's in the 100th percentile extension. So he's 6'8", and that ball gets on you in a hurry, and it makes all his numbers look really well this year. It's a limited sample size, but his chase percent, walk percent, and barrel percentage have not been very good. He's only pitched 23 innings, but he's a guy that when he's in a lineup, I like to back him. Because of his injuries, he's not one of the bigger name pitchers in baseball. But if you follow baseball, you know how good he is. Looking at the line in this game, as I mentioned, Glasnow about 185 at 8.5. I would tend to the under in this game. I think Glasnow will give him a good 4 to 5 innings. He probably wants 6. But with all the bullpens there, we've got anybody they can use. And these are two teams who, hey, may see each other in the playoffs. So this is a big series. They're going to want to try to intimidate the opposition if they do play in the playoffs. So I expect pitching to rule this series.
So here's another thing I did over the break. I don't know if you guys can see it. I got a new neon sign there that says Tokyo Brandon. Is that cool or what? So, yeah, things are good. So people are asking me to share my strikeout projections for some pitchers. Just go to my page at WagerTalk.com. I have all my strikeout projections for all the pitchers who were listed as of yesterday. Some of them popped up today that are not on the list. But if you go download that, it's easier than me checking it and putting it in the chat. I don't mind doing that, but anyways, regarding this game, I badmouthed the Royals about 8 shows ago, and the Brewers, and since then they have been like wildfire since that series against the Mets. I have them ranked better than the Dodgers at everything, but again, my numbers are very current form reliant, and there's really no current form after you've taken a 4-day vacation. So my numbers, I'm not trusting my numbers very much right now. Give me 2 games or so to get them back on track, to catch a little rhythm there. But I do have the Brewers doing better at everything than the Dodgers. One thing interesting here is Glasnow's numbers against the Brewers are impeccable. But I think most of those were acquired when he pitched for the Rays, probably. Probably not as a Dodger. So again, sometimes when you look at head-to-head matchups between pitcher and batters, it was in a totally different situation in a totally different stadium. I mean, the Rays aren't even playing in the same stadium that he was pitching in, and the Dodgers. I mean, now when a pitcher has a good lineup behind him, he tends to get a little more motivation to pitch. I think Glasnow is going to have a good second half of the season. I agree with Brian though. I think this one will probably go to the under. I think we'll see a couple of lineups that are a bit stale after a break, and we got 2 really good pitchers. So I would think an under in this one.
I like the Dodgers here, and I would not be surprised if the Dodgers slap Milwaukee around all weekend. This feels like the more I think about it now, I did think there might be some value, like +1.5 on the Brewers, but when the line came out and I was looking at it, and the more I sort of look at this, I know I probably contradicted what I said at opening this play, but the more I look at this, I realize Milwaukee's one of those teams that might really get hurt by the break. I mean, they've been a little streaky this year. They go into the break winning 7 straight games, as hot as they can possibly be. They swept the Dodgers. So now they go to Dodger Stadium. But what I'm thinking about as you two are talking, that kind of has me maybe flip from, okay, like Brewers, yeah, there's going to be some line value on the Brewers here, no question. But wanting to maybe play against that or not wanting a part of the Brewers is the fact that they just smacked around LA last week, and now they're heading out there. And I do think there's some merit to something Brian said the last couple of weeks, where, the Dodgers kind of go through the motions. Now they come out of the All-Star break, and there's got to be like some sort of like, hey, all right, it's time now, right? Like there's 2 months of the season left. You guys are the best team in the league. Go show it. Sean's correct. I think we'll get the full complement of Glasnow pitches here. I think he was pretty much full in that last start at Oklahoma City. And then there was probably a conversation like, why push it going into the break when you know what I mean? Like, we're going to go into the break. You know, you're going to get some extended rest here. So it makes sense that this would be like the shackles are off type thing, 90 to 100 pitches. And that is, again, like if he's on, like if you watch his last start, the stuff was there. He walked a couple of guys, but I think if he's like back to even close to what he should be, I mean, this could be like a 6-7 inning, very strong outing for him. And that should put the Dodgers in position to win. So contradict myself at the open here, but I do still think, so two things can be true. I do still think there's going to be some number value on the Brewers in this series, but I won't be taking that number value. I think the Dodgers are probably, I think you're going to see the beast wake up over the next couple weeks here. And so I won't be going against that. So I think it would be Dodgers or pass for me here. Let's talk about another team that was hotter than the sun going into the All-Star break. And that's the Boston Red Sox, who, you know, they got a lot of heat for the Devers trade, but they've played much better than the Giants since that trade. Like, win-loss record is much better than San Francisco since that trade. I don't think that has anything to do with Devers, Brian Leonard. I think that's just, getting like guys like Roman Anthony, getting a few weeks under their belt at the big league level. That is the future. This team is going to be good. Like, they were probably always going to be good without Devers going forward. And so, listen, you can criticize how that happened. Certainly, if they shopped it around, they probably get a little bit more in return. But I feel like the odds makers really held that against the Red Sox for like a couple weeks, like held it against the team that was on the field, that their front office maybe made a questionable trade. This Red Sox team is very good. Roman Anthony is going to be a superstar, and I love the way this team was playing going into the break. So my question to you is, now that they have the day game on the road at Wrigley to open up the second half, do they get sort of stunted by the days off and maybe not carry them their momentum into this weekend? How are you seeing Red Sox Cubs?
Yeah. When a team is on a big winning streak, last thing they want to do is take some time off and get away from it. It definitely plays a factor in my mind. I want a team that's focused coming out of the break. Boston on that big winning streak, they're fat and sassy, as Marco would say. And it's usually a team that you can make money on because the lines are going to be more inflated because everybody knows who the hot teams are. And you've now had 4 days for that to sink into everybody. Is, hey, I didn't realize, especially if you're a casual fan, you just watch the All-Star festivities, you don't follow the standings. Maybe right now you see, hey, how about this Boston team? So, yeah, that's what you have to go take a look at. And Giolito's going against Ray here. Ray's about a 128 favorite. Line total open 8.5, under 15, and now we're seeing just as many 8s to the over 20. So a little bit bet on the under in this one. For Giolito, he's been, talk about hot. It's kind of gone under the radar how well he has done. He's only had one bad start in the last. Let me check out his game logs here.
Yeah, since the Angels game, when I called for him to be DFA'd and sent out of the organization. So I'll take the L there. I was like, they gotta send him away, and he's been awesome ever since that. So
he's got 6 innings, 6, 7, 7.2, 6, giving up 0, 0, 2, 0, 1, 0 earned runs. He's been terrific. His extension's 85th percentile, so he gets right on. He's 6'6" also. Another one of these tall guys get right on you. But some of his numbers are a little weak. Expected batting average, 10th percentile. Hard hit rate, 22nd. Exit velocity, 18th. The weather, it's a typical day in Chicago. It's not overly coming in or going out, blowing in or out. So it's your normal day in Chicago. And so we'll see how that goes. Colin Ray is doing very well this year, although some of the regressions come in later on the last few starts. 3.91 ERA, 4.95 expected, 1.26 whip. His walk rate, 81st percentile. Doesn't walk a lot of people. He's only walked 6 per 9 innings as of right now. That's his percentage. His 6%, which is about 2.5% lower than league average. But he gets hit a lot too. A lot of blue on his profile. So we've got two teams coming in here off the break. Obviously, you have to worry about that. And a lot of the Boston players are younger. A lot of these guys are just coming up now, and they're all coming up together. Really, about 4 or 5 guys. This is their first All-Star break in the major leagues. It's a little bit different than the minors. We still have it at the same time, but obviously this means more because now they're a star. They're playing in the major leagues. So some concerns that way. Boston ended the first half red hot, the Cubs kind of faded a little bit. And there was a lot of talk earlier, and I still think so, that the Cubs are, other than the Dodgers, are probably the team to beat in the National League. So they've got more to prove here. Kind of like them a little bit here, going against the streak. And I see a little bit of value on the Cubs with the Reed.
It's time to celebrate because we're going to do a promotion. And I think Brian's going to have plays out. Adam should have plays out. I already have a play out. So go to our pages at WagerTalk.com and get some of our plays. That's worth celebrating. So take a shot and get some of our plays today. We also put free plays up almost every day. So go grab those as well. So the way I'm looking at this, I mean, Giolito, I was a little wary when he came back this season because he didn't go through spring training properly and everything, but he's vintage Giolito right now. I mean, you can't argue with the fact that in his last, 5 starts, he's gone 6 or more innings and he hasn't given up more than 2 earned runs. He's given up 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 0 in his last 5 starts. And he's gone over 6 innings in every single one. That's amazing stuff that you can't argue with. He's got really good stats against these Cubs as well. The only red flag when I look over this is the fact that he's on the road. He's not quite as good as he is at home. No, take that back. On the road, he's got a 1.95 ERA in 37 innings, and at home, he's got a 1.87 ERA in 37 or 35 innings. He's just as good on the road. Give me Boston on the money line, and I'll make that my parlay leg as well. Let me see what their odds are. Currently plus 120. Holy cow. Why is Boston an underdog in this game? That makes absolutely no sense. I have them better at everything. I have their bullpen better. I have Giolito better. I have their hitting better. Obviously, the Cubs have a power-packed lineup, no doubt about it. But again, current form, it's a little scary. You got to bet something, though. I'll take Boston on the money line for the parlay leg because I have them better than the Cubs at everything. And Giolito, he's elite Giolito right now, in my opinion. That's why.
I'm not seeing any 120s, but I see 115s out there for this.
Okay. ESPN 120, but like we've said in past shows, ESPN's not really.
Yeah, I think the Red Sox have taken a little of respected money in the last 30 to 45 minutes because that was plus 120 everywhere about a half hour ago. Right before the show, I had that jotted down plus 120. I agree with you that the value is on the Red Sox for sure in this game, in my opinion. I was a little bit surprised to see them as big of an underdog as they are. Problem for me here is like, and I'm gonna side with you here, TB, just strictly based on the price, because again, like I can't believe Giolito's done what he's done. I have to go back to I played against the Red Sox in that game with the Angels. Came on the show the next day, and I was like, see. I was right about Giolito. Send him to the glue factory, basically. And he's been Sandy Koufax ever since. Like it's honestly been incredible to watch how good he's been. Problem is, I look at like some of his underlying metrics, and I don't see anything to support that being the case going forward, like going long term. So we've now had a first half, and we've seen Giolito be god awful. And then we've seen a run where he's been very, very good. Now we've had some time off. I don't think he's going to be very, very good like he's been the rest of the year because some of the underlying stuff suggests that he's not going to be. He doesn't have an elite fastball. He's spotting it well right now, but none of his stuff is elite. So what happens when he's not pinpoint anymore. And like he's, does this little layoff get him out of his groove? If he gets out of his groove, he's very hittable. If he's hittable against the Cubs, they're going to make him pay. Now, the saving grace here in this matchup is I think you can say a lot of the same things about Colin Ria, like where he kind of lives on that edge too. Stuff isn't great. If he's really not pinpoint, not hitting his spots, like he doesn't get a ton of swing and miss. And this Red Sox lineup, in my opinion, is still very underrated. I think it goes back to the Devers trade and this mindset that everyone decided, and when I say everyone, I mean the betting market decided that the Red Sox just lost their best hitter. And now we need to price the market as such. Red Sox traded away their best hitter, so we need to ding this team in our power ratings because their best hitter is now gone and they got no one back to replace him. When in reality, his replacement was internal. It was getting guys like Roman Anthony more at bats. It was freeing up space for Wilyer Abreu to come back, moving Kristen Campbell back down to AAA to figure things out, to get more at bats for guys that are hitting. That was the other thing. The Red Sox had a little bit of a player crunch in the outfield there. And so it was almost like addition by subtraction. So I really like the Red Sox lineup and I like this team. So I'm not going to disagree with you. I gave my reasons why I can't play it, but I certainly agree with the value being on Red Sox at plus 120 because the Cubs, in my opinion, are trotting out almost the same team today with Rea on the mound. And I think they're two similar lineups at this point. Andy Lang's in the house. Shout out Andy Lang. Yeah.
Because it's a parlay, I'm going to change it to Red Sox plus 1.5 at minus 180, if that's okay.
It's fine. And you know what? Because it's a parlay, I'm fine with that. Because it's the road team, I think you give yourself a much better chance to cash that leg. I have no issues with that. What did you say that is? That'll be my
official for the parlay. I wouldn't put that out as a client play, but I will put it out as a parlay leg.
Yeah, and that's a good point. If you're going to bet this game straight, I think you have to either take the Red Sox on the money line or find something else or pass. But for the parlay, I have no parlay
on the first. I don't want to ruin it on the morning game.
It's fine. That's the way I would have gone as well. Andy Lang, thank you. Good to see you. Good to just have baseball back. Second half, hope to kick it off with a bang. And Brian and I will be locking in parlay legs over the next 30 minutes. We finished the first half on a little bit of a swoon, but still, TB. Why don't you put the Tokyo Brandon neon sign where the Ass Man license plate is? So then, when you're 3-boxed. You don't just see ass. You see the neon sign. And then when you're full screen, you got the Ass Man license plate down low.
But I am ass.
Well, not this morning if you went 2-0 and
right, what was that? Don't shake your head. Don't nod your head. I'm not ass.
Appreciate Andy tuning in. Make sure you're tuning into WagerTalk today. Now that we got football coming back, that show is going to be on fire going forward. It's going to be a go-to for football season, and we are pretty close. We're right around the corner, but we got a couple weeks left, so you guys are stuck with us for a few weeks until football really gets back into full swing. We're going to move right along. Andrew Wheeler had a couple. I'm going to go to the one everyone's going to be interested in here. Andrew Wheeler says, I also like the Tigers today. I don't know who he was replying to. I'm going to guess it was Sean. That would be my guess. I don't know if that's who he was replying to. Maybe it was Colin. Colin says, hey, hate to say it, but good value on the Tigers. Now, the Tigers were the team, I think we talked about it on Friday, our most recent show, which is Friday going into the break, that the Tigers might be the team that exhales a little bit. Like, they've done more than enough, and maybe you don't get their absolute full focus going into the break. And you certainly didn't. They were that was not the Tigers team. They kind of that just was not the Tigers team we saw all first half in those 3 games against the Mariners. And you know what? The Mariners needed those games. So I think it's Brian Leonard. I'll say this. That series was so much more important to the Mariners, especially after they lost to the Yankees in the fashion that they did, that it doesn't surprise me that the Mariners went in, were more focused, and got the sweep. AJ Hinch is not going to allow that to happen to this team coming out of the break. I think you're going to see a focused Tigers team here, and that's kind of the way I'm looking. So Tigers Rangers, we'll start with you. How you seeing this one?
Yeah, might as well put it out now. The Tigers will be my part of the parlay today. I do like the Tigers here. It current line's about minus 108. And to me, that's a little bit of a bargain. As you mentioned, the Tigers, we said it, they were up by 13, 15 games in that division, and they were having a cakewalk. A lot of young guys that's not used to that kind of success. And all of a sudden, they go into the break and they're not playing well. And we've talked about the coaching staff here, very good coaching staff. They'll be ready here, especially when you think about the All-Star game and all the Tigers players. Oh, these guys they had more All-Stars than anybody else and all this other stuff. That's all in the past now. The coach is going to let them know that, okay, you've gotten your props for what you've done so far. This is a new second half to the season. I think there's value here. Corbin is going for Texas. He's a lefty. Detroit is pretty good against lefties also, so that's not much of a concern. The total is 8.5 here, which is makes sense to me. That one I don't find any fault with the total. When you take a look at Reese Olson, he's a guy I like. He has not been that great this year. 2.95 ERA. He's not been 2.95 good. His expected is 3.83. So, and a whip with 1.24. He's got lousy extension. Average exit velocity, he's been getting hit. Our hit rate, obviously, very similar. He does have a great whiff percentage at 83rd percentile. His chase rate is 74. So you'll get people swinging a lot of those balls that are in the dirt, that kind of thing. He's a pitcher I like, but hasn't been quite as good as what his numbers show. Patrick Corbin, 4.15 ERA, 4.61 expected. His first under 5 expected since 2019. So obviously pitching for teams he has hurt that. Washington is a really good hitting ballpark, but his whip 1.32. His acceptance is very good, 77th percentile, 73rd walk rate, 72nd chase rate, but he does give up fly balls. He's in the 26th percentile of ground ball rate. Not a big strikeout pitcher, 25th percentile. His strikeout minus walk ratio on the season is 11.9. League average is slightly less than 16. So I like the Detroit side here. I think they'll get to Corbin. And when it comes to the bullpens, that's something you always have to take into account, but they're all healthy. And I've got no problem with Detroit's bullpen. I like them better than Texas. Give me Detroit. I think it's a very, very fair number.
Well, the way I see it, I got Texas hitting better, and I got their bullpen better than Detroit's. The problem is Olsen and Corbin, the matchup. How does that match up? So I got a lot of conflicting data here. I got Corbin ranked way lower than Olsen, but I have both of these pitchers in facing the other batters. They both get clubbed like baby seals. I mean, they're just getting hammered by the other team. They have OPSs over 850 for each of them in their history against these teams. I think this game's going to go over. I like both lineups better. I don't like either bullpen very much. So I think we're going to see an over in this one, given the pitchers past against the batters and the fact that neither bullpen was really performing before the All-Star break. So give me an over in this one. I'm not sure if I'll play it. If it's 8.5, I might go for it. But I would go over here rather than a side.
Well, hopefully Pete is not in the chat. But that's
Peter.
Yeah, that's anyway. Here's the thing with the bullpens. I'll talk about these bullpens because I've studied them a lot. And the Rangers, their bullpen numbers are so good this year. And I find it fascinating that their bullpen is good as it is because they really don't have leverage arms. But what they do have is a collection of guys that are all very good. So I think that the Rangers having a good bullpen tends to be a little bit misleading because their bullpen, I think the strength of their bullpen is okay, our starter's out in the 4th. Like, we've got guys that are going to get us to the 8th, 9th inning, no problem. They don't really have a guy, at least right now. At least no one has really stepped up and taken the role, in my opinion. That is the guy you want out there in the 9th inning or the 10th inning. Go back and look at, like, the Rangers have played some decent ball. Go back and look at, like, how poor they've been in extra innings over the last month or so. It's because they get, like, these inherited runner situations, and they really don't have, like, the lockdown guy at the end of the game. The reason I think that that's important is they're kind of this team that's, like, I think they're going to be in a lot of close games. Their offense is not such that I don't think they're blowing many teams out. This team, the strength of this team is pitching. Starting pitching. Like, if you go back and look at the first half where they ranked, like, the reason that they're not 15 games under 500 is because they've had elite starting pitching and the bullpen has been very good in the respect that they eat up innings. Now, against a team like the Tigers, who you're probably not going to, if the Tigers come in and they're focused, you're probably not going to blow them out. If you get into a scenario where you're in a game where it's like coming down to the 8th and 9th inning, you're not going to outmanage AJ Hinch. You're not going to out bullpen AJ Hinch. So it's like, I got to lean Tigers here. And I hate to say it because, Patrick Corbin's my guy, Clay, New York native, right around the corner from me. He is going to regress. And I pulled Sean's comment up. I don't know that he's regressed quite to 2024 Corbin, but he is still getting some nice swing and miss. And specifically, I think against teams that struggle against left-handed hitting pitchers. Brian Leonard pointed out the Tigers they handle lefties well. And if he's not getting that swing and miss, I think he's going to start to get knocked around a little bit. So, yeah, this is a really good spot for the Tigers. And I probably would have thrown it in the parlay if Brian didn't. So I'm glad that he got on that. I fully agree. All right, let's move on. Let's go back to Andrew, because this was the other one I wanted to touch on. I think this is an interesting matchup. I've got an opinion here too, but we'll go to Brian Leonard first. He says he's not a huge fan of Verlander. I'll admit again, I backed the Giants with Verlander for a 5%er in his first start out. It was against the Guardians, and I just kind of played the hunch that he was going to show up ready to pitch, and the time off we were gonna get a little vintage Verlander out of that. I've watched him pretty much every start since, and I'm almost ready to stick the fork in him, Brian. I think he might be done. I don't know. What do you think? And are you willing to bet on that? Here is the question.
Yeah, not something I'm going to doing other than holding my nose to do it, because yes, it's he has not done well. In fact, he's got 0 wins on the season. And I read something the other day that for this far into the season, he's got more innings in or more starts and has 0 wins than anybody else. It's just strange how he hasn't gotten any support. He hasn't pitched well either. But Bassett is going for Toronto, about 140 favorite. Totals 8.5 here. Verlander on the season comes in with a 4.70 ERA after a 5.48 last year. Last year, maybe some excuses. This year, maybe he's just getting old. 4.82 expected ERA, 1.42 whip. The last 2 years, his whip 1.42, 1.38. That's what's giving him problems. When in his prime, he would walk anywhere from 4 to 5 batters a game. Now he's walking closer to 8. Last 2 years, his strikeout rate has gone down 19.9 this year, 18.7 last year. Just 3 or 4 years ago, it was 33. So he's a guy that's trying to hold on to his career, and I don't blame him for that. He's got a great life. He got a hot wife, and life's good for Verlander, but he's got to start producing. And this is a really big game for him, I believe. Bassett going for Toronto. Chris Bassett to 4.12 ERA, 3.81 expected, 1.35 whip. The last 2 years, his whip has been really high. Last year was 1.46. His walk rate isn't bad, 6.3. In fact, it's better than league average by over 2, but he gives up a lot of hits. And his strikeout rate, 22.4. So he's at He's a 16.1 strikeout punch walk ratio, slightly better than league average. Average exit velocity, 82nd percentile, hard hit rate, 87th. So he keeps people off balance, and that's what you do when you're a veteran with 11 seasons with 81 career wins. He's 21 games over 500, and I've always thought of him as being a good pitcher, not a great pitcher, and he's still having success. For this one, for myself, in a breakdown from the gambling standpoint, I don't want Verlander, but yet you've got to think this is one of the most important starts of his career. This is a team that's trying to make the playoffs. Toronto, the hot team, as opposed to some others coming into the All-Star game. They were playing very good ball. Could have a little bit of a letdown here. Somewhat like San Francisco, but probably the over 8.5 is probably the better play here. In a day that I like a lot of unders, I think this one may go over.
The only time it's good to be 0-7 is when you get to go home to Kate Upton. But aside from that, Verlander's away ERA is almost 5, and Bassett's really good at home. So I give a huge pitching advantage to Toronto here. Bullpen's pretty much even, and lineup, obviously Toronto has a better lineup. What an interesting thing about Verlander is he's not pitching well at all. He's 0-7, but he's not really walking that many people. I have his walks to strikeout ratio in the good range. I have Bassett in the average range, but Verlander's not walking a lot of people. He still has his command, but he's just getting tagged. So pitching advantage, Toronto. Bullpen, no advantage either way. Both bullpens will be rested, and so I think Toronto has a bit of an advantage here. It's misses making a client play for me by about 1.5 here, but if I were to play it, it would be Toronto.
Me too. I'm so high on this Blue Jays team and I like excuse me, I probably like the Giants more than the next person. But it would be like, so here's the thing. So I follow Ben Verlander, that's Justin Verlander's brother, on social media, and he kind of pointed out, he's a baseball media guy. Like he's in the MLB media. So he kind of pointed out like that Justin Verlander has been pretty unlucky in some of his starts. And I'll say that, I mean, he was very unlucky in that first start back against the Guardians, where he had a couple of guys just not make plays behind him that led to like almost all the runs in that game. But what you can't hide from is the underlying metrics, right? Like whether you've been lucky or not, you can't hide from the fact that he's giving up hard hit, the fact that, he's not getting a ton of swing and miss, the fact that his expected ERA is close to 5. Those are the things that, like, I think take luck out of it a little bit. So that's where I'm just like, okay, I had to go back and look and say, you maybe the right fielder in that start, got like lost a ball in the sun, and then like the next hit was an RBI single. Yeah, stuff like that's happened. But we've got a big enough sample now since he's returned where like all the underlying numbers suggest he is what he is at this point. Bassett, I mean, aside from the fact that, he throws 90, like, that he doesn't throw with, like, he doesn't give you a ton of velo. He's been very, very good. Guys can't square him up. The location is awesome. And so, like, for me, Blue Jays it's kind of a no-brainer here. I just didn't like the price. Minus 145 is a little too steep for me. So from a matchup standpoint, I'm very much all in on Toronto, being like, I think that they are bordering on being like an elite team in the American League. I felt that way for a couple months now. I could only go Jays. I'm not going to do it because of where the price is, but it would have to be Blue Jays for me. I got to go back. I just want to go back real quick till we get to the next game, to something, to the last game we talked about. And I just want to put, Chad Picard made a comment that I forgot to touch on, saying the Rangers are playing better right now. That's facts. I couldn't help but think about Kevin Pillar when he announced his retirement. If you heard him talk when he announced his retirement, he basically came out and in so many words said, like, no one on the Rangers like hangs out with each other. Like, basically everyone just does their own thing. and they have very little camaraderie in the clubhouse, to the point where he was like, you know what? I probably would have gone till the end of this year, but I'm just going to hang him up right now because I'm just not having fun. That is so concerning to me. Does that concern either of you guys when you hear something like that? I'll go to Brian first.
Oh, yeah. Anytime you get somebody to come out talking bad about his team or good about his team, whatever, you want to pay attention to that. Yeah, it's been a team that's had some struggles, but they've now got the shortstop back. He's healthy. I would expect a better second half out of Texas, but yeah, that's the kind of quote you like to get.
To me, not so much. I mean, yeah, I mean, on the field, I don't know how much camaraderie really means. I mean, if you really like your pitcher, you'll make an extra effort to grab the ball for him or something like that. But I mean, when these guys go on the road, a lot of them do hang out together. And that aspect, the off the field aspect, yeah, I think it would make a difference for morale purposes. But on the field, I don't know if it affects performance that much.
Just an interesting thing. I thought, guys had such a long big league career. He's in what seems to be an organization that's committed to winning. And then you just hang him up. I know he was probably saw the writing on the wall that he would have probably spent a lot of the rest of the year down at Round Rock, and maybe he didn't want to do that. But that comment was jarring to me.
These guys don't want to go to the minors, that's for sure. Because you don't want to go around in a bus when you're used to, first class jets.
Steven says, elite show again, gents. We appreciate you guys. Thank you, Steven. And, give us those likes, subscribes, comment on the YouTube channel. Tokyo Brandon wants to promote something. I know he does. So go ahead.
I just got a question. Is our Three Amigos special still valid?
No, but I think the special that's up. So while we're on the topic, I think right now there's an all access special for all handicappers where they'll throw, it's basically just the month of August, but they'll throw in the rest of July. So the sooner you get on that, the more free days you're going to get, because July is free and they're going to run that special the rest of the month. So, you buy it now as opposed to next week, you're just getting yourself a free week. So that is the site-wide special. It works for any of us. It is get August and you get the rest of July free. And right now that's over 2 weeks free. So not a bad deal. Not a bad deal. All right. Let's go back to the chat. Let's go to Rick Reynolds, because Rick is curious to hear our thoughts on the Mariners in the second half. Is this the year they finally make a move for a bat and take the division from Houston? And how convenient they're playing Houston tonight. So we've got a nice little segue here into that game, which is honestly probably could have been at the top of the show for sort of like marquee matchup in terms of just like, that is a huge series, Brian Leonard. Astros Mariners. I think it's the last game on the board tonight. Maybe a little bit of a degenerate special right here, at least for us out on the East Coast, 10 o'clock start. You want to answer Rick's question, and how are you seeing Astros Mariners?
As for the Mariners, they've got some pluses and minuses. They haven't brought the guys they've brought in have not worked out well, and so it's hard. It's a hard place to hit in for the most part. But the weather situations, bring your family to Seattle. It's sort of like here in Vegas. It's very very major weather situation you got to take into account when you go to move there. But they've had some injuries to starting pitchers early on, and they should be able to get those guys back and pitching more innings in the second half. And that's what they are. They're a very good pitching team. So I would expect the second half to be better. You got three key guys that should be back all pitching in the next week here. So from a team standpoint, now we'll see what kind of, for a betting standpoint, it all depends on what kind of numbers we get. But for a team standpoint, yes, I think they're going to have a better second half. Current number in this one, Walter's going for Houston, Castillo for Seattle. Seattle's about a 130 favorite, total 7.5, which you would expect here in a good pitching ballpark with a couple of decent starters. Walter, the lefty, who's done pretty well so far this in his rookie or second season, but he only pitched 9 games out of the bullpen last year. 3.98 ERA, 2.92 expected. That's why I say that he's pitched better with his numbers. 1.01 whip is excellent. This is the guy that doesn't walk anybody. This is one of the guys that Tokyo Brandon loves, and that's Brandon Walter. 1.2 walk percentage. League average is 8.4. He is not a guy that he's going to make you beat him. And his fastball velocity is only in the 13th percentile. Maybe eventually everybody will catch up to him, but right now, walk rate 100 percentile, exit velocity 96th, chase rate 93rd. This is a guy that I like. I like him a lot. And when we get to Seattle, obviously we're going with the veteran, and he's been okay. Luis Castillo has been a guy that comes in with a 3.41 ERA. He's been solid on his ERA. His career is 3.54. His expected, though, is 4.45, so he's been a little bit lucky. Whip 1.24, a little bit high. His strikeout rate is what concerns me. He's been a major strikeout guy in his career. Just let's go back to just 3 years ago. His strikeout rate was 27%. It's gone down to 24.3, and this year it's down to 20.6. Doesn't have it. His extension is only in the first percentile. So if you're losing your strikeout pitch and you're giving him more time to see that, that's not something I want to bet on. Most of his StatCast numbers are in the blue, and blue is bad, red is good. So I prefer the Houston side in this one, and you're getting them at, like I said before, about 118 on the dog. That would be my preferred side in this game.
So, guys, I have broken down almost every starting pitcher, their hits projections, strikeouts, walks projections, outs projections, and that's downloadable for free on my page at WagerTalk.com. Also, I'll be on Saturday, tomorrow, noon Eastern, to break down Saturday's games, so tune into that as well. Regarding this game, I do agree with Brian that Brandon Walter is a great pitcher. Earlier shows, I was saying, well, we don't have a sample size. Well, we have a sample size now. And Castillo, he has great stats against these Houston batters in his career, but that's when he was a stud, and he's not that anymore. He's still a very solid pitcher, but he's not the pitcher 2 years ago where he would go 7 innings every game and allow 2 or less earned runs every single start. He's not that guy anymore. He's more of an innings eater now, a very reliable innings eater, by the way. But he's, like Brian said, he's not the dominant guy that he used to be. He's still a very good pitcher. But I like going into the break, though, Seattle's bats were on fire. This is the problem with the All-Star break, is teams like Seattle are probably going to cool off now. And I do like Walter. The one thing that scares me going over all the stats and stuff, the first play I wanted to lean on, if you download that sheet, you'll see I project Walter over 17.5 outs recorded. And that's what it was on DraftKings before the show, was 17.5. The reason I'm not going to make that a play is because his away stats are alarming. He's, I think, a 4.7 ERA on the road. No, it's a 5.7 ERA on the road. Brian's right. He doesn't walk people. So even though he has a 5.7 ERA on the road in 22 innings, he's only walked 2 guys in 22 innings. That's amazing. So he's not going to walk people. But given the fact that Seattle was hot going into the break, I don't know if I can trust him to go a full 6 innings here. So I probably will lay off that play, but that's the way I would go if I were to play it.
So I will first address Rick's question about like Mariners in general in the second half. I'm very much in on this Mariners team. I've taken some positions on them just, throughout the season. I have Mariners to win this division. I've got Mariners, and this is not something I've given out to clients, but I've talked about it a bunch on the show. I have Mariners to make the playoffs. I think they do that. I even think if you can get 4-1 or better, I have no issues with you jumping in on the Mariners to win the AL to win the AL West. I think when it came up last week, TB, we even said, you shop around, there were still 6-1s out there. I think last week when we talked about, maybe last week or like 10 days ago, you could get 6-1 on the Mariners to win that division when they were like 6 games back. The specific question that was asked, can they finally make a move for a bat? I think they definitely can. They have one of the most unique trade pieces that you're going to find on the trade market. And it's catcher Harry Ford, who's currently at AAA. And the reason that that's so, like most teams, when you have a catcher like Harry Ford, who projects to be a very good starting catcher in the big leagues, typically you don't trade that guy, even for a short-term fix. But the reason the Mariners can really consider doing that is because they got a guy named Cal Raleigh who's not going anywhere for a very long time. And they've already sort of messed around with Ford at different positions, and I just don't think it's going to happen. I don't think he's the guy that you can really make into an outfielder. You're probably not going to DH him. So I think what the Mariners should do and can do is trade Ford, and they would basically be able to fill any need that they wanted. So I think Rick is implying that the need is another bat in the middle of that order. There's not only do they have him, they've got like 4 other guys at Tacoma right now that probably could be on a big league roster. Tyler Locklear, Samad Taylor. They're all guys that maybe on their own don't have a ton of trade value, but like if you packaged a couple of them together, they could absolutely get back the person that they wanted. So to answer your question, I love the Mariners in the second half. They probably will finally make the splash and get the guy that they want to provide some protection to Raleigh in that lineup and provide some pop. And they can take the division from Houston, in my opinion. And so I'm not going to play this game, though I lean Mariners, but I'm not going to put you off playing, even if you can get 4-1. Mariners to win the AL West. I still think there's regression here for the Astros, even if they get a little bit healthy. Brian, sorry, did you have something to follow up there? I didn't know if you were trying to get in. All right. We have reached the end of the show. My parlay leg is a leg that we've already discussed. And I'm going to take a play out of the Tokyo Brandon playbook right here. I'm going to use A's plus 1.5. Brian Leonard, what's the juice on that?
A's plus 1.5 minus 182.
Perfect. Good. That's what I thought. Yeah, that's what minus 180, minus what. So basically the same as, so TB and I are both going the route of let's try to hit this parlay, take the visiting team and give ourselves that run cushion with the road team. And then we'll let Brian Leonard give us the odds with the Tigers. So today's show parlay, first one of the second half. Hopefully we kick the second half off with a win. Tokyo Brandon is on Red Sox plus 1.5 full game. These are all full game. Red Sox plus 1.5. I've got the A's plus 1.5. And then Brian Leonard has Tigers money line. That comes out to plus 366. I'll take that. We need a win. And I think this one, I think if TB can get us through that first leg, we're going to cash this one. So
pressure.
But I mean, hey, you're feeling great right now. So I feel like if you say Red Sox this afternoon, I feel like that's going to be it. So
I'm feeling great.
So that's it. Red Sox plus 1.5, A's plus 1.5, Tigers money line. We're back to the normal schedule next week, Monday through Friday, every day, 9 a.m. for the rest of the season. So hope everyone has a great weekend. Cash all your tickets. Check out that great promo on the site that gets you the rest of July free if you buy August. And we'll see you Monday morning. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Friday, and we're setting up a big weekend. MLB is back. UFC is on deck. We got plenty of angles to break down before we get to baseball. So let's close the week strong. Let's get ready for the weekend. We got a lot of units to stack up. Gianni's going to join us. Should have a big day for the Steam Report with MLB being back in full force. Marco's going to join us. We're going to talk Tigers and Rangers. We're also going to talk just a little bit of NBA and some betting strategy for Marco. And then Andrew Babakidis is going to join us. We're going to talk UFC 318. Where is the action? There's one line that is baffling me. I'll get Gianni's take on it too, because there's a line movement that I don't get in the slightest. And then Dan and I are going to break down the San Francisco 49ers monster season win total at 10.5. So thank you very much for joining us, everyone. Hit that like button. Let's get started and bring in Gianni. Gianni, I'm guessing we got a pretty good Steam Report with MLB. I've been looking at some of the line movements. Looks like we got quite a bit going on. What are you seeing so far this morning? And happy Friday to you, sir.
Good morning, Block, my man. Welcome to the party. Yeah, busy. Couple signs and totals. Most of the totals got hit overnight. I haven't released any baseball yet to subscribers. I'm always cautious the first day back. So, waiting for more information to come in. And as I always talk about, the guys from up north, they bet about an hour from now. So if anything confirms, subscribers, you will be receiving baseball probably within the next 90 minutes during this live Steam room. But what I can share, I did release a summer league play. I know you guys are fans of those. 4% play on Utah Jazz plus the 2, Utah Jazz plus 2.5. We took 2.5. We took plus 2 as well on the Utah Jazz. Sprinkle a little bit of money line, but Utah Jazz 4% play means 1% of bankroll in summer league. That's all I have for summer league so far. Here's what we got in Major League Baseball. I'll get the totals out of the way quick because, again, most of those were overnight numbers. Definitely won't be available right now, but at least you know why they moved. 980 over 10.5 up to minus 130, Minnesota, Colorado. 968 over 8 up to minus 130, White Sox, Pittsburgh. And 955 over 8.5 up to minus 120, St. Louis, Arizona. A couple of the sides that got hit already. 952 Washington plus 140. 959 Athletics plus 120. 964 Texas even money. 966 Seattle minus 115. 968 Cubs minus 125. And last but not least, Chicago White Sox plus 145. That's game 969. So couple coin flips that they took plus money on, and small pick'ems that they laid minus 110, minus 115 on favorites. But again, still early in the day, but baseball's back, baby. Second half of baseball, always tons of opportunities, especially as they get down a little bit later and you get a lot of the clubs bringing up the youth. The teams that know they're not in the playoffs, they're mathematically eliminated more or less. They start bringing up the youth. Those teams tend to be undervalued. Because they're the standings, they look awful in the standings, but all of a sudden you have a motivated team. Like those are some money makers during the summer. Some of those teams that did so bad in the first half that they're bringing up the youth, but the youth wants to make the team. Like they don't want to be sent back down the AAA ball. They want to make MLB roster. So these guys are actually showing up and playing. And I think that's why on some of these season win totals on teams that have been so poor in the first half, that are definitely eliminated from any playoff contention, we went over in the second half, expecting exactly that sure, the veterans probably don't care anymore. They know they're not making the playoffs. They may have given up on the season, but when you bring these young guys, all of a sudden they have reason to play each and every night. So now you get an undervalued team that's motivated. And we all know, we've talked about it when the season started, everyone's going to be between winning close to 40% of their games and 55% of their games, right in that 15% margin. You can make some money, man. Teams to get into that little window, or teams to get out of that window.
Yeah, you have these teams that have different rosters at the end of the season. It's like hardly any of the normal starters are even playing there. A couple of moves I wanted to ask you about. The San Diego, Washington. I'm guessing this is a fade of Dylan Cease. I don't know. It seems a little bit risky because the Washington pitcher hasn't been that great. But you got 2 losing pitchers, but I guess that's more of a just take the big plus money odds on that one. And then the other one, Boston and the Cubs. Wanted to ask you about that one. That seems a little odd to me. They're fading Giolito, who's been, lights out. That, I don't know, seems a little risky. Is that, I don't know if you can tell, is that public money coming in, like everyone loves the Cubs, or I'm wondering what they're seeing with that line move.
Yeah, no, the Cubs line, I can tell you right now, is getting public money. It got a little bit of sharp money as well early, but since then it's been mostly public money that's pushing that line up. I kind of lean Cubs a little bit myself, to be honest with you. I just don't think I'll be able to bet that later number. But they got down 125. That's what I bet it for them when that number was available. In San Diego, Washington, I think it's the splits with San Diego. I mean, if you're going to fade them, you probably want to do it on the road, where they're 5 games under 500. Now returning from the break. Going into the break, they were playing pretty good. I mean, they won 3 of their last 4, but that's usually a bad thing. Like when you're running hot, you want to keep playing. When you have momentum, you want to keep playing. Where with Washington, I think that's exactly what you need. When you're running as cold as Washington, the break is a good thing. We talk about it in the NFL all the time. Like the bye week couldn't be worse when a team's playing great. When they're having 500 yards of offense and they've won and covered 3-4 straight games, the last thing you want is a bye week. The last thing you want is a break. But when a team goes in there having lost their last 3, they're underperforming the betting market, not covering by 10, 12 points, that's exactly the type of team that needs an all-star break or a bye. And I think that's kind of that perfect storm where Washington, they won one of their last 9 games heading into this bye. I think that was definitely needed by them. And again, 2 pitchers that haven't been winning ball games for their teams, and both of them are hittable. I mean, look at San Diego with Cease. He's given 6 earned runs in 2 of his last 5 starts. Only once has he given below 3. I think a hittable guy on the road. I think that's why they're on Washington.
I'll give you my fade today. It's the Angels, who could barely decide on a starting pitcher coming out of the All-Star break. Like, you had all this time and you can barely figure out who's your starting pitcher. That's a team I want no part of. I want to talk UFC here because there's a couple lines that have moved. Want to get your thoughts on there. I'll start with the one I don't understand at all. What's up with all the money coming in on Kyler Phillips? This one I can't figure out. This guy has no cardio once it gets to the 3rd round. He just let Rob Font. He won the first round against Rob Font, and they got dominated in rounds 2 and 3. I'm not sure what people like about him, and I have had a spot-on read on Kyler Phillips. I've bet on him. I've bet against him. I've been spot on. I don't get this line at all. You have any intel?
Yeah, great. I'm so glad you zeroed in on that fight because we actually talked about it on my weekly UFC podcast, The Gambler's Perspective, which you could get the link on my Twitter at Greek_Gambler. And actually, me and Nick disagree this week on our matchups. That's actually a fight we spoke about. And here's why I think the money came in on Kyler Phillips, and it came in immediately. And I actually expected that to happen, to where we taped UFC on the Line last Friday. They aired it this Monday, and they make it look like it's live, but it wasn't. We didn't even have props. We did it last week. And when we're taping 2 weeks out, it's hard to handicap a matchup. So what I do is I handicap the betting line, and I try to determine which way the line's going to move, and try to get out ahead of it, place good bets. And it's worked out for me on the show. That's why, again, it's not the brag, but this is our 7th season. I've won 5 of 6 seasons. I've turned the prop in. Last year was my best. But I just don't focus on trying to predict the winner. I focus on where I think the line's going to go and get out ahead of it. And it's worked out in that show because, again, we tape early, always way in advance. So here's why I gave out Kyler Phillips on that show in advance, because you got to remember how these 2 fighters are coming off. You got Kyler Phillips, who's coming off a loss, but he closes a -630 favorite. On the flip side, you have Vinicius Oliveira. He's coming off back-to-back wins. So he wins as a +170 dog against Simone. Tough out, always a tough out. And then he closes a 2-1 dog against Nurmagomedov. Just that name, Nurmagomedov, you're going to pay a premium for.
Yes.
The fact that Oliveira got past him as a 2-1 dog, and on the other side of it, again, you have a fighter like Phillips coming off losing as a -630 favorite. I knew the sharps were going to bet on Phillips because their reasoning is this: had that fight not happened, or more importantly, had he won as a -600 favorites, because -600s usually win, very rarely do they lose. Had he won that fight against Font, what would this line be? Where would this line be?
Okay.
Possibly Oliveira may not even be the favorite in that matchup, beaten Font. And the argument, though, is from the guys that like the Oliveira side, and I think this makes sense as well. We may conclude, Andy, 6 months from now or a year from now, that Oliveira actually should have been a 2-1 favorite over Kyler Phillips. You know what I mean? It's just, you just don't know that yet. So you're kind of projecting. And I think that's where they saw value on Kyler Phillips, that this is closer to a coin flip than one fighter being, a -150 over the other. And they're both coming off fights. One, whereas a 200 dog, you're usually going to lose, and a -600 favorite, usually going to win. The opposites happened. So I think they saw that line having a lot of recency bias to it. That's what I expected, and it followed suit. That's why you're seeing that money coming on Phillips. Rest assured, come Saturday, that line's going to move back up.
It's already started. Yeah, it's already started moving this morning. I've seen. So
it's going to go back up. I talked to guys that like Oliveira, whose opinion I respect. So they'll be betting him.
I'm all over Oliveira. So, yeah, I like that one as well. All right. And then just before we get you go, Max Holloway, Dustin Poirier, you seen any movement come in? If anything, it's Holloway money at this point, I think, but my guess is the Dustin Poirier money pours in on Saturday for his retirement fight.
Yes, you nailed it, brother. That's exactly what is going to happen. The Max money came in immediately. Poirier opened as a dog at the first book that went to market. That didn't last at all. Max money came in, and that continued. And I think that the Dustin bettors just see that line climbing. So what are they in a rush for? You know, I could have got plus 110 yesterday. I could get plus 115 today. Tomorrow, I could probably get plus 125. So I think they're waiting. And I think a lot of the recreational bettors that will be on Dustin haven't gotten to the window yet. It's been sharp Holloway money so far, not recreational bettors, but there will be sharp bettors on Poirier also, especially where the line sits right now. Because you got to remember, these guys are betting numbers. And a lot of guys I spoke to, they said that they all mimic the same thing. They're betting the dog. If Max was the dog, they'd be betting Max. Now, Poirier's the dog, they're going to be betting Poirier. So to them, it's just about the number. And, you know, I think you're going to see sharp bettors on Poirier. You're going to see public bettors on Poirier, and that line's going to drop. I bet Max Holloway. It's a 3% play for me. It would have been a 4% play had I not had opposition, guys I respect on the Dustin Poirier side. But that's usually going to be the case. In most fights that are below 200, you're going to get two-way sharp action. The difference is what numbers they're betting it at. You know what I mean?
Sure.
They're taking higher plus and laying lower minuses than where the market sits right now. It's usually they both got good bets at different numbers. And that's what usually happens in MMA. But I personally think it's a really good card. I think, you know, it's more favorite heavy, but, you know, that's usually the case.
Just going back to baseball before we let you go, you mentioned you take it maybe a little bit light when we're coming out of it. So any games that kind of that you're like, yeah, that's an exact reason why I take it light, like teams that you don't want to bet on or teams you're a little worried about coming out of the break today?
Well, yeah, you got to. You have to. I'm not like, teams like I'm excited to bet. I still got to slow down because we have a long second half. Like you guys know I'm high on the White Sox in the second half. I'm going to be looking for reasons to bet the White Sox in the second half. I'm going to be looking for reasons to fade the Dodgers in the second half. I'm going to be looking for reasons to fade Detroit in the second half. I already have those teams isolated. And if you bought the package that has the 6 season win totals and the 3 futures, then you know what teams we've isolated and are looking to back and looking to fade. And that's it right now. It's just being selective, Andy, and waiting for those opportunities, waiting for these teams to regress and progress towards the mean, just like we did in the first half, where we started fading those teams that got out really hot, started betting those teams that came out really cold. And now we have a big enough sample size that we could just rinse and repeat in the second half. We already know what we're expecting from these teams. Now it's just a matter of, you know, finding positions to fade or back them. But slow and steady wins the race when it comes to baseball, because you're going to have so many betting opportunities.
I love it. We got a big weekend, Gianni. Tell everyone what you have up for clients this weekend.
Oh, yeah. You'd already know the NFL and college football season win total futures package is up. I added 4, I think, college football season win totals yesterday. Every one of them was a 4% play. So I think you got 6 futures in there now already. More will be coming throughout this month and part of August. I have the UFC 318 package up with a 5% play. You already know 70% on my last 35%. Number one over the last, I think 365 days. Number one in MMA on those 5%. And the baseball package will be up within the next 60 minutes once my guys from up north fire. And as you know, we have the steam room going off in 45 minutes. If you are a long-term subscriber, or even if you signed up over the last 24, 48 hours and have a week or more, you should have gotten the invitation as well. Come to the steam room. We'll go over everything. Baseball second halves, little football futures, baseball for today, MMA for Saturday. We have, I think, PFL as well. So we got a lot to talk to. Be in the steam room. Don't be late. 1 p.m. Eastern. We'll knock it out within 60 minutes. Thank you, Da. Love you guys, man. Thanks for the support.
Thank you, Gianni. Nobody does it better. And yeah, that's if you bet like Gianni or you want to bet like Gianni, that is just a really, really good explanation of how you can predict where the money is going to go, and you can get outside the line, or you can get the best of the line movement. So it was a great explanation on how he did that right there. So we have a new promo that went up today. It's a great one. They always love running these really great promos in the summertime. You can get all of August for $2.99, but the quicker you get it, you get the rest of July for free. So this is a smoking deal going into the weekend, especially when we have baseball back, we have UFC, we've got all kinds of sports. And August for only $2.99, but don't wait until August. Get it right now, because every day that you get in July is going to be free. So if you're interested in getting to 30 days, you can extend that to 40, 45 days. So big weekend. If there's a handicapper that you've been wanting to try, go for it right now. That way you get plays starting now. Every day in July is going to be free. So it's 30 days in July or in August, and you get the rest of July for free. Absolutely smoking deal. That's on the deals page over at WagerTalk. So, all right, Dan, let's go all around the world. We got a nice all around the world edition today. We got PFL, we got baseball, and then Dan's going to join us to do a player prop in Premier Lacrosse League. Let's start with baseball. These two plays are on the WagerTalk free picks page. White Sox at the Pirates. We like the Pirates under 4.5 on the team total. Pirates are averaging 3.3 runs against righties, and as home favorites against righties, under 4.5 runs 68.4% of the time this year. That's from Ronald Kabang. And then Cardinals at Diamondbacks. Like the Cardinals at plus 108. Fat has bad numbers against the Cardinals. Diamondbacks bullpen has been bad. Both these pitchers are actually better on the road than they have been at home. So we're going to take the Cardinals at plus 108. And we go to PFL. Happy Dakota Ditch of a week, everybody. She's going to be the big draw. But look at the undercard. Justin Clark, minus 148 over Giselle Awa. There are some really bad fighters on this card. This is PFL Africa. There are some horrific fighters on this card. Dan, you're getting ready to come on. This is how bad Giselle Awa is. His last fight, he lost, and he got knocked out, okay? Except it was in power slap. he's laughing. I see you laughing, shaking your head.
Tells you everything you need to know.
So this guy is going to fight a professional fight, but he just got knocked out.
He just got the shit slapped out of him, for
Yes.
lack of a better term. Okay.
Yeah, so Justin Clark is only 2-0 as a professional, but he starts off very strong. He applies a lot of pressure, and anybody that's getting knocked out in power slap is not getting my money. So give me Justin Clark. You got a player prop that you like for PLL. Tell us about that one.
Yeah, PLL action tonight. We have one play loaded for clients with you over at Andy's page, wt.buzz/AL. That game goes tomorrow, a nice underdog spot. But tonight we're looking at a guy who has just climbed in the MVP market. This game going this evening. It's New York taking on California, and we're taking the New York attackman Connor Schellenberger to go over 2.5 goals. As I alluded to, Andy, just a week ago, this guy was 50-1 in the MVP marketplace. He's now the second favorite at 5-1. Main reason is this guy's coming off a 7-point outing last week. 4 goals he scored. He's only had 3 hat tricks this season, or 3 games with 3 or more goals. But last season versus the Redwoods, he had 4 goals and 7 points facing off against them. So I think it's a really nice matchup. Defense doesn't set up well, and the Redwoods are just in a free fall right now. They've lost 4 straight games after starting 2-0. No reason to think that New York, who's trending up, shouldn't continue. Connor Schellenberger has been a huge part of that. So let's go over his 2.5 goals at a nice, juicy plus 126 price. Little plus money player prop for you. Connor Schellenberger tonight in PLL over the 2.5 goals.
I love it. I love it. And I'm wondering if Dan, as a producer, is worried that I'm drinking coffee out of a cup and wearing a white shirt.
I was a little bit worried, but Andy, I do have my coffee in a cup next to me. So if yours is going down on your computer, mine's going down on my computer.
Well, I'm worried about the white shirt thing. Because if you spill yours, nobody notices. Get on the white shirt. Now we got trouble. Roger asked, after a while, isn't some brain damage causing such decisions? Sadly, yeah. You're seeing these guys in Power Slap and also in BKFC. These guys need money. That's just the facts. If you're not a very, very famous fighter, you don't get paid a whole lot. So guys take chances and they go into sports that they probably have no business being a part of. And sadly, that is the reality of it. And my job is to make money. And if he's willing to do that sport, I am willing to bet against him. That is how we build bankrolls in those sports. So it's sad but true. I follow all of them. You see guys making terrible decisions. But if they're going to put a line out and I can find an advantage, I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it every single time. So it's one of the reasons why we're number one in MMA profits in 2025. So we got some really good feedback on bankroll management when we did that the other day. Several people reached out and said, hey, can you talk more about that? Sure, we can. I'll talk a little bit about it. It's going to be a great segue to bring in Marco. So I look at my bankroll as part of my investment portfolio. I have 3 different pieces. Call it what you will. I have my crypto, I have my stocks, and I have my sports betting. And what we've been doing with the sports betting is we just recently lowered to really, really low volume, mostly based around this new tax bill. That thing is going to stick. So we need to hit at a higher percentage, and I'm going to bet more per bet than I normally do. So you guys have heard me talk about flat betting 2%. I'm probably bumping that to 3%. Why? We only have 6 plays that are in for this week. Last week we had 10 plays. We went 7 and 3 for 5 units. Perfect. That's what we're going to do. So I'm looking at the rest of the year, lowering the volume and upping how much that we put on to try and increase that part of the portfolio. Last week, I brought in 5%. I do that, I'm going to be rich. So that's part of the bankroll management that we are working towards, and I'll walk you guys through it. I'm looking at 2 golf plays that should be getting ready to cash, looking forward to those, and then we move to PFL and UFC. If you want to join us on our UFC and PFL plays, we have a pack that's up, UFC and PFL best bets. There's 3 of them in there. Those are plays that we bet with our own money. So that's how we do it. And if you guys want me to talk about it more, I'll be more than happy to share with you some of my numbers and some of the things that I'm in. I'm not a financial advisor, just a guy talking on the internet. That's the official disclaimer. So I want to bring in Marco here. Marco, we're going to talk baseball, but real quick, I do want to bring up WNBA because it's just a perfect bridge here. In WNBA, I looked this up. You're 42 and 18 the last 2 years for plus 57 units. So you have had 60 plays the last 2 years, and yet your returns are better than the S&P, than most of these stocks, than probably Bitcoin, than probably, maybe, no, not XRP, just over the last week, but that price was so low. But this is what I love about it. You're low volume, you pick your spots, and you hit it at an insane rate, and you don't have to worry about it that much. So give me 57% over the last couple seasons, and I wanted you to talk about how you keep it low volume, what's your secret to this, and how this is a perfect way to turn your sports betting portfolio profitable.
Well, Andy, I've always been a low volume guy. That's just been my nature. And why? Because, I'm in this for the long haul. And I don't like, a lot of variance. And I'm not saying that the way anybody else does something is, that my way's better, their way's better. This is the best way for me. Everybody has their own style. And for me, I would rather play a little bit more on the games, but play less games than rather spreading out and have 10 or 15 plays, every day. I pick my spots. We've only had, 48 and 12, 60 plays over the last, 2 seasons in the WNBA, but, or 42 and 18, I'm sorry. But, hitting 70% for 2 years is absolutely phenomenal. And, if you had asked me, did I expect that kind of return? I'm going to be honest, no. But there's a lot of inefficiencies in this particular market. And probably over half of those plays have been player props. We've had sides, we've had totals, but most of the plays do come in with player props. And I think that the reason for that and why it's so bad is, we all joke, nobody wants to watch the WNBA. Well, if you're not watching it, you're missing some entertaining basketball. I know that sounds lame, but I do enjoy watching the games, and I go to all the games here in Vegas with the Aces. But what happens is the people setting the lines on these player props, Andy, this is how they do it. They look at the season average for each player. Okay, player X is averaging 22 points per game. that means their player prop's going to be either 21.5 or 22.5. If they had a couple games in a row where they went over or under their season average, then they'll adjust it that direction. They don't take into account that every team has different rosters and different strengths. Some teams' strengths are their inside play, the front court. The other teams, it's the back court. Well, player props, every game, there's going to be a different game plan. And you've got to understand the teams in what their strengths are and how they're going to attack. And, the other night I had, a 4% play. It came so close to being my first 5% play ever in the WNBA. That's how much I liked it. But, I just don't throw those plays out for the sake of throwing them out. But I had Asia Wilson over 21.5. That was just an absolutely insane number. Dallas has nobody inside to contain her. The total was 21.5. She had 20 points at the half. Scored the 22nd point 15 seconds into the second half. Easiest cover that we had. It's about matchups and not season averages. And that's where I've made the money at.
Yeah, I agree. I love when the books use the algorithm. They're going to be right 99% of the time on those, but we only need that one perfect one that is a little bit out of whack. So I love it. It's really, really important. And honestly, Marco, with this new tax bill, I've run the numbers a million times, and it is the way to get them is low volume and higher percentage on the bets. Like I said, I've run the numbers ad nauseum. That's the only way that I can come up with it. So I love that strategy. Let's talk about, let's go to baseball. Let's talk a little baseball here. And we have a lot of Tigers fans at WagerTalk in the WagerTalk chat. So you got Tigers and Rangers. What's your breakdown on this game today?
Well, you look at this game and you got two teams that went into the break opposite ends of the spectrum. Detroit was good all year, but the final 4 games of the first half, they lost all 4 games. Texas won 3 out of 4. Gianni mentioned it, and it's something, I always talk about and agree with. In football, the bye week, you don't want to stop when you're winning, but whenever you're losing, you need that push the reset button. And I expect that's what's going to happen with the Tigers tonight. I think they're going to come out tonight, first game after the break, and I think they're going to have a good performance. And why shouldn't they? They got Reese Olson on the mound. Now, you may not know him because when you're on a pitching staff that has Scoobo on it, you're going to get lost in the shuffle. But here's a guy that's had 8 straight starts where he's allowed 3 runs or less. That in itself is good. 5 of those 8 starts, he's given up 0 or 1 run, okay? But most people don't realize how good he is because he gets lost in the shuffle behind, who's going to be the AL, Cy Young winner. I like him tonight. He's going to be going against Pat Corbin. Now, I know last year we used to, beat Pat Corbin like a rented mule. Everybody would be lining up every time he pitched because he didn't pitch well. He's pitching better this year, but he's ultra consistent. You know what's going to happen when he takes the mound. He's going to give you 5 innings, but he's going to give up 2 or 3 runs, and then he's going to turn it over, to the bullpen. Well, if he's going to give up the 3 runs and Olson's going to give up in most of these starts 0 or 1, I know where I want to put my money at in this particular game, and that's going to be with Detroit. And another thing with Corbin, now this game opened up, Detroit was a slight favorite. So this particular stat I'm going to give you doesn't work technically anymore, but you might want to write it down for future reference because Corbin now is a slight favorite instead of an underdog. When he's plus 100 or more at home, in his career, his team is a god-awful 18-48. But as I said, he's crossed over to a slight favorite right now. So throw that out, but write it down for future. But what still is in play, the Texas Rangers at home versus right-handers, they're only averaging 2.8 runs per game. All right. If they don't score against right-handers, and I got Olson that pitches as well as he does, I'm going with Detroit here for our first play of the second half. Let's take the Tigers.
You just made a lot of friends in our chat, Marco. You just made a lot of friends. Awesome breakdown. And let's. So this is interesting because the chat loves the Tigers. You like the Tigers today, and Gianni's fading the Tigers for the second half of the season. So we'll see how that goes. Marco, what do you have up at Wager Talk? We got a big weekend coming up.
Well, today is opening day at Del Mar. If you like to play some horses and you like to play some baseball, today's the day to pick me up. We've got some plays from Del Mar. Usually I'm there. This year I'm not there for opening day, but I did handicap the card, and we've got some spot races that we are attacking today. So you'll get all of those plays in the package. You'll get my baseball for today. But, why buy today for $29? You mentioned the special that's going on. That's the best deal going. Buy August for $2.99. You're going to get all of July and what's for free. And it's the dog days of summer, but we're building a bankroll right now for football season. You're going to get spot plays the rest of the summer in horses. There's a lot of big races coming up. You're going to get my WNBA plays that we talked about, 42 and 18, and you're going to get my baseball plays. We had a profitable first half. Let's have a profitable second half and lead right into football. Grab that $2.99. That is the best deal going, and you'll pick up the rest of July for free.
Marco D'Angelo, awesome stuff. To me, the WNBA knowledge is much more valuable than a single game breakdown. It's the strategies. You put good systems and good strategies in place. That's what's going to get you long-term success. So thank you very much, Marco. Thank you for sharing all that. Good luck this weekend. And take advantage of that. Get all of Marco's plays for August and get the rest of July free. Have a great weekend, Marco. Marco D'Angelo, everyone. Yeah, a couple questions about unit size. Fortunat. So when we talk about percentages, 1% equals 1 unit. So me personally, I try to tell people what I think they should do, and I have given up because I've learned that everyone does it different. Me personally, I bet 2% of my bankroll. I flat bet on everything. At the end of the month, I reset my bankroll, determine what is 1% / 1 unit, and then I bet 2%. I'm upping that now to probably 3% just because we are so low volume. I mean, we only have 6 plays for clients. It's the best of the best of the best. So that's how I'm looking to attack it moving forward. So that's what we mean when we say 1% or, one unit. And I agree that 3% is probably the max that we should be betting on those. Our percentages are a little bit more of a confidence thing. So, but I know there are people out there that get plays and they play way too much on the bankroll. So if you're watching this show, I imagine you're probably one of the responsible ones. So that's what I mean with 1% and 1 unit. All right, let's bring in Andrew Babakidis. We got to talk UFC 318. Andrew, we got to start with the main event, Holloway and Poirier. We've been talking about this one all week. My guess is that you guys are going to get flooded with Poirier money tomorrow. And my guess is you've been taking mostly Holloway money. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, you're definitely right. We opened this one. We've had this one up for quite a while. We opened this one at the beginning of May. We opened a flat pick 'em, -110 both ways. Like you said, we did get some early Holloway money. We're currently sitting -135 on max now. And I wouldn't be shocked if this thing comes back down a bit if we get some Poirier money tomorrow. I know he won the first 2 times they fought, but we're looking to try to position ourselves to need max. I know a couple of the guys in the back really think that's the side. I mean, how confident can you be in a pick? But they like the max side, a couple of the guys in the back.
Any fight surprising you with what money's coming in? I've been stunned at how much money's coming in on Kyler Phillips. I'm wondering if you guys have been taking more money on Kyler Phillips.
Yeah, I was actually going to say, because you usually ask me what my favorite play was, I would say kind of going against the sharp guys in that one. I'm thinking now that this price keeps getting a little bit more fair on Vinicius, we opened at -190 on that side, and we're all the way down at -140. We have got tagged a couple times by some of our winning customers, +160, +150 on that Phillips side. But yeah, I mean, the price has been crashing all week. So the closer this thing gets to a pick, the more I'm kind of looking at this and circling this fight as one of them. that's more bettable for sure.
All right. Each week I give you a violence parlay. There's a lot of them this week that I really like. I'm actually just going to go with a single one. I'm interested you've taken money on it. I've got the under on Michael Johnson and Daniel Zellhuber. Michael Johnson's coming off of two wins. Not that impressive. And Zellhuber's got this really long length that I think he can grab a submission at a long distance, get a standing like guillotine or Darce. He's also got really good striking that Michael Johnson, I just don't think at his age, is going to react well to, and I don't think he's going to get out of the way. I don't think this fight goes the distance. It's minus 165. It's a touch juicy. I could throw like the Dolotov at minus 700 or the Span Dresky at minus 900, but really it's about that Zellhuber fight. Have you taken any money on the under on that one?
No, we're sitting 2.5 minus 120 on the under. So yeah, real close to a pick 'em on that 2.5 line. But yeah, I really don't hate that angle. I really haven't done too much looking into that fight, but your breakdown makes a lot of sense. I feel like at this point of Michael Johnson's career, he could be finished, and there's always the chance he goes out there and gets to finish because he's going to be, throwing hands like he always does.
Yeah. So you mentioned the Phillips fight. You're on the other side. I'm with you 100%. I'm on the other side. I love Oliveira, and I'm not that big of a fan of Kyler Phillips. Any other fights that you personally like?
Yeah, there's been some good sharp plays around the board. I wouldn't say I really love the Vettori side, but we have been getting hit on Vettori kind of when the price was over plus 200. We got hit at plus 225. And yeah, that price has moved pretty aggressively. I know they already fought in the lobby like a few days ago, but yeah, I still think Brendan Allen's going to get the cash there, but there has been a big amount of action on Vettori in that one. And then a big sharp play on Jimmy Crute early in the week at minus 250. That is now sitting at minus 350. So those are a couple of the fights that I've seen some good action on.
All right, we got a question there. Are you taking anything sharp on WNBA All-Star? Anything? I mean, you guys probably hated it when Caitlin Clark got rolled out of the 3-point contest. That probably took some action away. But you guys seen anything with WNBA?
Yeah, I know the total has moved a ton. People are expecting a lot of points, so that's something that we saw an influx of money coming in. We're trying to put up some unique props. We're putting up who will score the first 4-point play, just a bunch of random stuff. But yeah, I'd say the sharpest thing we saw was early money on the over.
Early money on the over. All right. Tell everyone where we can find you at, what you guys have going on over there.
Yeah, so we're going to do some reduced juice on some of these splits on the UFC fights tomorrow. I know that Max Holloway fight is close to a pick, so I'm sure we'll do a 10-cent line on that one. So if you're looking to bet that fight, you're not going to find a more fair price than betting it over here. Yeah, and if you haven't followed me on X yet, please do. I try to share as much info from behind the counter that I'm able to give you guys. And like always, I really enjoy coming on here and talking fights with you. The next 2 cards we're looking at are pretty stacked. Bummed about Aaron Pico fight getting pulled, but these next 2 fight cards I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, me too. I'm loving it. So Andrew Babakitis, and he is a good follow on X. I love the information you give out. You're one of the ones I look forward to when I see it come up on the timeline. So thanks for coming on, Andrew. Have fun and enjoy UFC 318.
Thank you.
JD in chat says, I got the dog Michael Johnson in that one. Perfect fight for MJ coming off 2 wins. Zellhuber simply a younger version of MJ. I'll go head to head with you, JD, for a little gentleman's bet. Come back Monday. One of us gets bragging rights. You're going to get way more bragging rights since you're taking the dog, but respect the opinion on that one. So join us on Monday, and we'll see who gets that one. So one more time, guys, the only plays that we have up for sale are the UFC and PFL. I just put them in one pack. So we got 2 UFC plays. We got 1 PFL play. If we see any props come out in PFL, those will be included. When we put up that pack, There were just no round props. So if they come out tomorrow or maybe this evening, we'll be putting those in. But we are still the number one MMA handicapper. PFL's been going really good this year. UFC, we stumbled in June, but we got back to the winning ways last week. So looking forward to adding more units. And again, these are plays that I use as part of my investment portfolio. These are plays we play with our own money. Any plays that we put out, if you're invested, we're invested as well. So take advantage of that over at WagerTalk.com. All right, Dan, let's talk to San Francisco 49ers. Big number here, 10.5. Big number. It feels like this is a team that everyone wants to fade this year. And I got to be honest, I was looking at fading them too, and then I started researching, and I've come around. What's your take just at a distance on the 49ers?
Yeah, I feel like this is going to be probably like the pros versus Joes kind of split
Okay.
as far as like the 49ers win total is concerned. I mean, let's be real, there's not many Joes who are betting preseason win totals. This is definitely
it's a great
more professional bets that people put down. But the 10.5, man, it just feels like a really good number. I mean, let's start with what we saw from the 49ers last year. You know what I mean? Like I feel like it couldn't be any worse for the 49ers as it was last year. They had so many injuries. They had horrible scheduling spots. They were 2-5 in one-score games last year that led to that 6-11 record that they had when their season win total was 11.5. So what do you see with the 49ers? It's bounce back time for them. And Andy, they'll be poised to have a really great potential for having a bounce back because they have one of the easiest schedules in the league for a team who, outside of last season and the hangover season that they had after they lost the Super Bowl, they've been an elite Super Bowl contender pretty much for the 9 years that Shanahan has been there. So again, one of the easiest schedules in the league. Not only that, Andy, they also sit top 5, top 3 in the rest differential as well. So really nice schedule. Really nice scheduling spots. But for me, we're going back to when we've talked about these teams are really going to go how the quarterback goes. And it's not so much that I think this team is going to go how Purdy goes. It's just the question of, is he going to be able to live up to the hype of the contract that he just got, right? A massive contract. They had a really good free agency, I would argue, because they got rid of a lot of the huge contracts that they had bogging them down, basically let all their guys walk. I think Deebo Samuel leaving, that's a net nothing. They addressed a lot of their needs in the draft because they drafted for position, and a lot of them were defensive. And let's not forget that Robert Saleh is coming back to town. And the only reason that he was a head coaching candidate was what an absolute stud he is as a defensive coordinator. I don't think he really meshed well as a head coach. Some of these guys who are coordinators, they're not just cut out to be head coaches. But as a defensive coordinator, Saleh is top 2 in the league, right? And he's got a lot of talent behind him. For me, though, man, Christian McCaffrey, do we know if he comes back to form? We don't know. How does Purdy look with basically a whole new look wide receiver core? The 10.5 just feels right. I lean ever so slightly to the under, Andy, simply because the market and the sharps, they love the over for this team. And I just don't know if I'm as in love as this team heading into the season as the market maybe quite is, with all those question marks surrounding them, though they do seem poised that everything's lined up for them to have that bounce back for sure.
Yeah, so they lose Greenlaw, they lost Fonga, but they already got his replacement. So again, when you say net nothing, they lost Deebo, but Pearsall was coming off we'll call it an injury that he got shot.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of an injury. Expect him to take a big leap forward. Jawan Jennings, now he wants a new contract, but I imagine they'll get that worked out. Ayuk coming off ACL. I was stunned. PFF had their offense ranked 4th last year. His team won 6 games. 15th in defense, 10th in special teams. So Pro Football Focus has them ranked pretty high. 12th ranked offensive line going into the season. 21st defensive line is a little bit concerning. And then I go to the schedule. I said this in the chat. It looks like they made it themselves. It looks like the league was
really
like,
does.
Here, who do you want to play?
Yeah.
This is the schedule. At Seahawks, at Saints, Cardinals, Jags, at Rams, at Bucks, Falcons, at Texans, at Giants, Rams, at Cardinals, Panthers, at Browns, Titans, at Colts, Bears, Seahawks. What is this schedule? This is like their hardest game, I think, might be at Bucks. That legit might be the toughest game on paper. Because of that schedule, I can't believe I'm going to take an over on a 10.5 total on a team that won 6 games.
Makes sense.
But this schedule is ridiculous. If Purdy stays healthy and some of these other guys stay healthy, I'm going the over. If I get burned on a Purdy injury or McCaffrey's not 100% or something goes wrong, but I'm with you about Saleh. He's fantastic on defense, and this schedule to me is everything. This is one of the craziest schedules I've seen. So I'm going to lean.
And that's why, Andy, for me, like on paper, I want to do an under, but on paper, you have to also factor in the schedule and the I mean, this is the easiest schedule in the NFL. I mean, and their toughest games will all be games that are in the division. And really, when you're asking of what they're going to do in the division, the 2 toughest games are going to be when they have to face off against the Rams. So that for me, if I had to pick, that 10.5 just like I could see 10 wins. So that's why I lean towards that under. But again, the market disagrees with me, and I completely agree with you. The schedule is the make or break point, because you could also start off poorly as the 49ers, like sometimes they do. But Kyle Shanahan, after the bye week, the record speaks for itself. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but after the bye week, Shanahan coach teams go on absolute tears, and the schedule sets up. So you could be feeling like your under's looking really good, and then that back half of the schedule just blows it up in your face, because they could go on a complete win out streak, head into the playoffs as the hottest team in the NFL. That's a completely potential thing to happen.
All right, so you're gonna slightly lean under. Certainly not a play. I'm not betting this one, but just for purposes of the video. All
right, we're head to head again, Andy. Now all things are right in the world. We've been agreeing way too much, so now we're head to head again.
Yes, absolutely. All right, guys, it's been a great